Hey everybody, it's Robert C. Stern with The Social Leader. I hope everybody's doing well, beginning of January 2016, and I have amazing luck who I'm not only going to be speaking with her at one place. I did find out, I think I'm speaking at her with two places now. I think I'm speaking in Canada with her and in Ireland with her.
Social media are you going to social media camp? I don't think I'm going to be going to social media camp this year.
Oh, okay.
But I am
I
speaking
wasn't
at
sure if
social
you were going
media.
to be there.
Yeah, but are you going to be at Social Media Marketing World in San Diego?
I can't. I'll be in Minnesota for an event up there.
Okay. So
anyway,
I guess we'll just see each other in Ireland.
I know, that's the one I'm looking forward to. But anybody that's listening, this is Melonie Dodaro from Top Dog Social Media up in Canada. And Melanie, tell a little bit about yourself, and thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you for asking me. I have a quick question for you before I tell anything about myself, before I forget. I know you're a big blabber, as in
I've done a few.
As in a blab user.
I've done a few.
Is there a method to your madness in scheduling your blab at 58 minutes past the hour versus on the hour?
Just in case when you were logging in, if there was a technical difficulty with speakers and mics to get ready so that we can start closer to the time of the true hour.
I was wondering if there was any other kind of
there is a marketing way, because if other people set it for 1 o'clock and we set ours for that 3-4 minute, you get them in here first because they get the notification. Yes, exactly.
That's what I was expecting the answer to be, so that's why
I was trying to be politically correct. You like it, though.
No, we like ninja tricks, so spill them. That's great.
That's a little trick. Get them in here first, but it is also because a lot of times you want to get some people in the room, so it takes a couple minutes sometimes for people to come in. Plus, you also want to make sure, like you tried to jump in and it didn't work right away at first, and then you had to come back in. So I've had people, like last night, Sean, we did a test run with his microphone. I had Sean Carpenter from NRT, and he the first time we tested it didn't work. He was having so much trouble. So imagine if you come in and it's like 5-10 minutes, we can't even start because there's problems. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So you wanted me to share a little bit about myself.
Let people know.
So, as you mentioned, Robert, my company is Top Dog Social Media. I'm also the author of the LinkedIn Code. To date, my company has mostly worked with B2B companies and professionals to really help them leverage the power of social media and social selling. I definitely have more of a inclination to leverage LinkedIn for B2B clients. Like for example, Instagram is a platform I didn't even get onto July of this year. I had a profile years before that, but I never used it. I had one picture, and somebody said to me, why aren't you on Instagram? Because I'm like, because I deal with B2B and I just don't see the application to it. But I'll give it a try. So I think I'm like close to 10,000 followers on Instagram now. So I have been working it a little bit, but it's one of those platforms that I see, an application from a B2C standpoint, but a harder kind of application for me to really see a tangible ROI. And I'm all about ROI. Where is the ROI in business, period? Of course, in online marketing, social media, we can spin our wheels a lot, focusing on a lot of different things. And certainly some things need to be tested. Like, for example, I'm typically a late adopter to social media platforms. I adopt a wait and see attitude. I'm like, is this going to take off? Should I invest time and energy in it? Because, when you do, and you do it right, it is, very consuming in terms of, time and resources. So with Blab, for example, I was like, I'm going to be an early adopter for a change.
I was going to say, you're 124 days on, and I'm 155. So you're not that far behind me.
Yeah, no. So this was a platform. This is the only platform that I've been an early adopter on. And, I think Blab is fantastic. I'm hoping to see in 2016 this take, live streaming and Blab to really, see some mainstream adoption. Because, I remember with Google, I'm like the non-techie social media girl. So, I always go to like my friend Steve Dodaro when I need technical advice. Because
you can't get more technical than Steve.
Yeah, so I've got him like in my back door practically. So I just like Google Hangouts, for example. I hated when somebody would ask to interview me on Google Hangouts. I'm like, there's always technical problems. There's always, this, or it's cutting out, or, oh gosh, I just can't handle that. Blab I love because it's so user-friendly, but not everybody knows that yet, right? So the people like me who are a little bit, kind of, technology, too much techiness, it's a great platform. I love it. I've been a little bit off of here for the last month because I was in a bad car accident a month ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
I didn't know about that.
So I have a concussion. So if part way through this blab I'm in mid-sentence and I forget what I'm saying, that's the reason.
Melody, by the way, my name is Robert Seaster. No. we can do 50 First Dates here.
What's that?
The movie 50 First Dates?
Yeah, yeah.
Sandler and just keep reliving it over and over and over.
Yeah, so I've taken a break the last month, but looking forward to getting back going probably next week.
Good. I'm glad you're feeling better and everything. So, I'm glad to hear that. But what's interesting you just said, and I love that, because people are afraid of social media sometimes because of the technology. And you just made that point. I am not a technology person. But here you are, a best-selling book, in-demand speaker, everything about social media. And here you're helping companies, business to business and brands and things like that, to use social media for what it can be used for. But you're not the techie person. And I love that, because so many people here and in the replays, they're going to be like, well, I'm not a techie person either. And, that gives me hope.
Right. It certainly does resonate with a lot of people because a lot of people are in the same boat, and one of the things that, when I speak at events or I do trainings or anything like that, I'm really trying to break it down to not make it technical, because really there's very little technical about social media. The setup of a profile might be a little bit technical. Learning a little bit about how to navigate through the platform might be a little bit technical, but as soon as that's done, and I'm talking like, day 1 or 2, there's no more techie stuff. And, so don't bother setting up your own profiles. Don't bother doing all those things that, you don't know how to do or don't do well. You get somebody else to do that stuff. And then just do, social media to me is not technical at all in terms of, how it should be perceived. It's a marketing tool, it's a customer service tool, it's a business development tool, it's a sales tool in some cases, it's a community building tool, it's all these different things, but it's not about technical stuff. So, outside of the, just getting comfortable with using a platform, that's it. So, for me, it's been pretty easy to navigate the social media world because I just took that off the table. I remember, doing one of my very first online courses that I created. It was called the LinkedIn Profit Formula. And in it, back then, this was years ago, back then, LinkedIn was not quite as user-friendly as it is now. So one of the things I always recommended to people to do was to add a video to their profile. Well, back then it was this very convoluted process of how to do it, like very technical.
Right.
And I couldn't even figure out how to add a video to my own profile. So, I had to get somebody else to do that for me on my team. And then, so I'm creating this, these series of videos and modules for the course. And in one of the videos, I'm like, okay, and in the next video, I'm going to show you how to add a video to your LinkedIn profile. However, I don't actually know how to do that myself. So somebody on my team is going to shoot that video.
That's great. But it's true. I mean, listen, I'm not a techie person, but I'll beat myself up so that I understand it. Because there are a lot of people that want to do things themselves, or maybe don't have the funding right now to hire parts of their team and send it out. And there is a little bit of techie stuff to it. But in all honesty, social media is not about techie.
Not at all.
And it's interesting because you said earlier, and I disagree a little bit, but that's okay. We're allowed to. You focus a lot on ROI. And I focus more a lot on, where I'm going.
Oh, yeah.
ROR.
Yeah,
because the ROR to me leads to the ROI.
Absolutely. They go hand in hand. So,
Right.
I mean, that community building is about building relationships, right? So that is the most important part of social media. And, from a sales perspective, one of the things I always tell people, more so in the B2B space, in the B2C space, people can be successful posting images and ads and stuff like that on Facebook, Instagram, and places like that. But now I forgot what I was saying.
You were talking about B2B and B2C and ROR and ROI.
Yeah. So, people shouldn't be trying
I'll
to
be
sell.
remembering.
Thank you. People shouldn't be trying to sell on social media. Like, for example, one of the things that I do best is I create killer LinkedIn campaigns for people where I'll write their entire profile for them, create a lead generation campaign that's really about relationship building.
Mm-hmm.
Never talking about sales, never trying to pitch or anything, with the ultimate goal to move that conversation offline. Because first you have to earn the right to move that conversation offline. And then it's offline that you have a conversation, you get to know that person to find out what problems they have. Because why in the world would you try to pitch your solution when you don't know what the problem is yet?
Boom. That's all I preach about. I sit here and sell people all the time. If you don't know what your client's problems are, how can you solve them?
Yeah, and you might have a vague idea because you're working in a specific industry or with a specific type of client, and a lot of them share the same problems, but you still need to really kind of discover that in their language, in their words, what is the problem that they're currently facing. And for us in the social media space, this is always a challenging thing for me because most of the people that come to me with problems don't know what their problems are.
Correct.
Right. So it's like, like, for example, I had this guy recently who's got this medical equipment company reach out to me, and he wanted some help with social media, but he didn't know what he wanted help with. And he's like, Facebook and this and that. And I'm like, no. None of that stuff is going to be a waste of time for you based on the target audience that you're going after. He was going after orthopedic surgeons and stuff like that. And I was like,
they're hanging out on Facebook, checking out the memes and all that stuff because they have so much time to live on Facebook.
But, I had to ultimately convince him that, the easiest way for him to reach his target audience was through his personal profile on LinkedIn, which is much more effective than a company page, which is a question I always get asked. Well, what about company pages? Well, at the end of the day, people don't want to deal with logos. They want to deal with people. And that's why personal profiles work so well. And he was just a really private person. And I had to ultimately say, listen, at the end of the day, do you want to use social media to improve your business, or do you just want to waste time? Because if you do want to use it to improve your business, you're going to have to get comfortable, letting people know who you are. And this was interesting for me because I am the accidental social media kind of, consultant or whatever you want to call me. Because I vowed I would never be on a social media platform. And when I started using social media in 2007, I'm from Canada. I live in the West Coast, but I'm originally from Toronto. And Toronto was the #1 city in the world per capita of Facebook users. And so all my family was still out there, and they kept saying, Mel, get on Facebook. I'm like, what is this stupid Facebook? And by the way, I couldn't figure out how to set up my Facebook profile. My cousin literally walked me step by step over the phone how to do it. But I was I was a very private person, and I was very afraid of social media initially because I was like, I had a really bad experience when I was much younger. I was stalked for a few years. And, so I just became this very, private, and I don't want anybody to know where I am and, see me online or anything like that. And I got over that. And, and then the next thing that I needed to get over was being comfortable actually sharing personal information. That was really, really hard for me too. Took me several years to actually be able to do that. And I would say that I probably have gotten the most comfortable with that in the last year or two. Okay. And I don't know if you heard the story, Robert, about how I found my dad on Facebook.
No, I didn't hear that one.
Yeah. So this was an eye-opening moment for me, to not only realize the power of social media, but also to realize the power in really sharing who you are. Really, I hate the word authenticity because I find it to be a buzzword, but it definitely comes into play. I shared a video on Facebook, a really crappy video that I made after having a few glasses of wine because I was very nervous. And I shared the story about how I had never met my biological father. My mom was 17 years old when she had me. My dad was a visitor to the country from Holland. By the time she found out she was pregnant, he was gone. He had left the country. They had split up. They had, dated for a short period of time and went their separate ways. And then she found out that she was pregnant. I never met him. So I put this video out on Facebook and it went viral. It went crazy. And I think, part of the reason too is it was so unpolished. It was so raw. It was so crappy.
It was real.
It was very real. It was very, very
like
real.
What we're doing now and what we do on all this live streaming now. It's real. It makes people go, wow, that's kind of how I feel.
Yeah. And it was mind-blowing to me that not only the community that I had built over the years, how they came to help me in this, but how complete and total strangers did too. So for example, my video, I'm like, if you can share this, and if you know anybody with Dutch heritage, it would be great if you could share it with them as well. And so people were like tagging all these people that they knew in Holland and stuff like that. And these people that didn't even know me started sharing it in Facebook groups and just going crazy. 2 days later, a journalist from Holland, from the home city that my dad was born in, contacted me and said, Melanie, we saw your video on Facebook and we want to write your story. And so the next morning, they wrote my story that day.
How long ago was this again now?
This was June the 2nd, June the 2nd, 2015.
15, so it was last year.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, so 7 months ago. So the journalist wrote the story, and the next morning when I woke up, the mystery was solved because my aunt and my cousin, who still lived in that town, saw the video. Saw the article in the newspaper, and started sending messages, and then started sending me messages on Facebook and LinkedIn, and it was just amazing. It was just like.
Now, have you met him in person yet?
Yeah, so it became this huge news because I think it was just a feel-good story when we needed a feel-good story, and so it got picked up by about 70 different media outlets around the world. I'm now famous in Asia and Europe.
You're like, all right, can you use me for social media? Yes, I'm the girl that.
But no, it got picked up everywhere. TV stations, radio, newspaper, everywhere in Australia, in Europe, in Asia, in Canada, in the U.S. And
that is fantastic.
The TV show 2020 and Inside Edition both reached out to me and wanted to fly me. My dad now lives in Thailand. He's retired there, and wanted to fly me to Thailand to meet him in person and record the show. Right. So I ended up doing that, and Inside Edition flew my husband and I out to Thailand, and we met my dad in August. So it's an amazing story. It's an amazing story. So it's probably my biggest social media success story, because at the end of the day, I realized there could be no bigger success than something like that, because that meant more to me than any millions of dollars that anything else could have, provided. Yeah.
That's you got a connection now. You have a lifetime connection, to what you still want to do. So, and that's great. So what made you, just going off target here, what made you focus more on LinkedIn than the others?
Mainly because, I gravitated to the B2B market. And
so I'm gonna cut you off a second. Is it B2B, B2C, or is it H to H?
Oh, it's very much H to H, and that's why
Brian Kramer.
Yeah, and that's very much why I talk about a personal profile on LinkedIn and building relationships on LinkedIn versus trying to use a company page and maybe doing some sponsored posts. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't do that or that that's not worthwhile, but at the end of the day, it's about those human relationships, those real relationships that you build. And I liked LinkedIn because of the ease of access to almost anybody that you wanted to reach out to. So for example, on Twitter, I like Twitter. Twitter is probably my second favorite, social media platform. But not every person or business manages their own Twitter presence. So who are you actually speaking to when you're tweeting at somebody? Usually a social media manager, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas with LinkedIn, you've got ungated access to the real person because hardly anybody outsources the management of their LinkedIn profile. Facebook business pages, again, you don't have that direct access to people that you do with LinkedIn. So,
right.
There was the ease of access to your target audience that made it most appealing to me. And being able to identify them. And when I say B2B versus B2C, what I really mean by that is, if you're selling a product or a service to another business, you have a clearly defined target audience in mind. So let's say, for example, your target audience is human resources directors. Well, they're easy to find on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Versus, maybe I'm selling jewelry. I'm making jewelry. It's my hobby and I want to sell some. Well, how do you know who likes jewelry on LinkedIn? Many people might mistakenly think, oh, well, women like jewelry. Well, that's actually not true. I'm a woman and I actually don't like jewelry.
You can't make a general statement.
Yeah. So if you can identify who that ideal client or prospect is, then LinkedIn is fabulous. If you can't, then Facebook is great because then you can start to use Facebook ads and target people that like jewelry or whatever, for example, as an example.
Mm-hmm. That's true. It's very true. And Carol wrote something interesting. And maybe you can touch on it because of the LinkedIn side. I asked if she wanted to jump in, but I don't know if she can. Authenticity she feels is very difficult to get on LinkedIn. What's your thoughts on that?
LinkedIn, the reason that LinkedIn isn't as popular as Facebook is because it's not a fun social network. Mm-hmm. But, I'm a business owner first and foremost. I've been an entrepreneur for 17 years. So when I look at business, I look at it from a business perspective. And, LinkedIn doesn't need to be fun. If it produces results, if it's helping your business, it doesn't need to be fun. And people aren't sharing the level of things that they share on Facebook, for example, on LinkedIn. It's not meant to be like that. It's meant to be.
There's no pictures of puppies and cats and little dogs?
There shouldn't be. There shouldn't be. If you're doing that, you're doing it wrong. Yes, there absolutely shouldn't be. So, is authenticity harder to find on LinkedIn? You don't want to be divulging too much of your personal life on LinkedIn because it's just not an appropriate social media network for that, and that's okay. Where does authenticity come into play? It comes into play when you have those real world conversations. You pick up the phone, or you go meet in person, or you get on a Skype call or Blab or something like that. Hello, Carol.
Hello, nice to meet you.
It was the one who brought this up, and she was like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah, that's my fault. I'm in.
So what's up, Carol? It's good to see you.
Mm-hmm. Good to see you too. Yeah, I was saying that because I have a feeling, and maybe you as an expert can tell us more, that LinkedIn, it's a bunch of people who knows each other and are like giving positive comments to each other. I don't see LinkedIn authentic in that sense, not that it needs to be funny. I would like you to comment on what is your advice for beginners in LinkedIn.
Oh, Carol, where are you coming from? Calling in from?
I am calling from home. I work from home.
No, I meant where are you in the United States?
Where in the world?
Where in the world?
No. I'm in Rio. I'm in Brazil.
How about that? Canada, U.S., Brazil. Right here we go. We're building up here. Anybody from Europe? Okay.
So this would be my advice. Read this book because...
Yeah, I was searching.
Yeah, you know what I did with this book is I eliminated everything that you didn't need to know. Mm-hmm. Because there's so many books out there that talk about, LinkedIn, for example, that will go into, go do this and this and this and this. None of that matter. Like so much of that doesn't matter. So my book's really about how to create a great profile. to have a phenomenal personal brand. That's client focused and speaks to the ideal clients you want to connect with. LinkedIn etiquette. What are the do's and don'ts? What are the things that you need to know and avoid? And then, how do you use LinkedIn to actually get business? So, where do you, how do you, set up this lead generation message sequence to reach out to your ideal prospects to ultimately move that conversation offline? At the end of the day, those are the most important things, because, you can spend a lot of time wasting time on LinkedIn or any other social network, and it's really about what are the highest leveraging activities that you can and should be doing. So sharing content's always a great one too. But at the end of the day, sharing content's great to stay top of mind, to position yourself as an authority on your topic. But it's really going to come from the personal relationships that you build and develop. And then learning about, is this person, somebody that you can actually help solve their problem? Do they have a problem that, is a good fit for you and the services or products that you offer? So I'd say keep it simple. Don't try to learn how to do everything and navigate here and do this and do that and do that, because most of that stuff doesn't matter. Grow your network with quality people. Grow your network on a regular basis. And here's the thing, I have so many people when I speak at events that will say to me, Melanie, I've been using LinkedIn for like 5 years, but I'm not seeing any results from it. And I'll say, well, tell me a little bit about what you do. And they'll say, well, I'll if I meet somebody new, I'll send them a connection request. If somebody sends me a connection request, I'll accept. And that's about it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So basically you're not doing anything at all and expecting business from it. And they're like, oh, because at the end of the day, if somebody's connecting with you or you're connecting with them and they're accepting and you just leave it there, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why I talk about in my book and everything I speak about having a sequence of messages to build that relationship, establish some credibility, and provide some value to that person before you ever ask for a single thing. So for example, for me, it's very easy, because if somebody reaches out to me on LinkedIn, obviously I know that they probably want to learn a little bit more about LinkedIn. So I'll send them some resources. Here's a link to a cheat sheet that you can download that will help you with this and this, and they're always grateful for that. So with each client I work with, it's going to be a little bit different based on their industry, what they're doing. But it's really about just adding value and continuing the conversation, because if it just stops at the connection request, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, thank you.
Wouldn't you add on also just being consistently on LinkedIn? Because a lot of people, they may have their profile filled out wonderfully. They do the right connections. Oh, Carol, you can take off? Okay. But being on it consistently, it's kind of like a Facebook page to me. And Facebook page is the best example about being consistent. I love going to Facebook pages for companies that are talking to me about coaching and working with them and everything. And their last post was 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, where are you? And LinkedIn is the same too. You need to be consistently out there, whether you're actively in the groups, answering questions or being involved, or if you're putting out the articles and publishing, which go to Pulse, or even the Connect app, which you really don't even need anymore because of the way LinkedIn set up their new app. The old Connect app is not the same anymore, because it was about the birthdays and anniversaries and writing those little comments, and not just, to me it was, don't just hit send where it says congrats, make it personal.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, you could go on every day, have the greatest profile, maybe not publish anything, articles and stuff, but if you interact with the people with their new messaging service now that they have, I like their messaging service. What are your thoughts about the changes? It's not as much email. It's more.
I'm somewhere in between. There's some things I like about it and some things I don't.
Okay.
And, you just never know what's going to happen, because they, when they get enough backlash, they change things back.
I know.
So who knows what's going to happen. But, I'm glad you touched on the app thing, because the app is dangerous.
Okay.
I'm a big believer in personalizing and customizing everything. And one of the things I don't like about LinkedIn is all their little default messages. You know, I'd like to invite you to a personal network. Oh. I always recommend personalizing everything. And so with the LinkedIn app, there are ways around it where you can actually personalize the message, but most people don't know how to do it. So they click the connect button and off it goes. And so, you know, when I'm speaking at different events, I'll say to people, you know, I don't accept all connection requests on LinkedIn, but, you know, I have a certain process that I go through to determine whether this is somebody I want to connect with. Like, you know, I won't connect with people that don't have pictures, or, you know, somebody that's got 7 followers or 7 connections, because I think this could be a fake account. And so I have an ability to see some things that other people might not be able to see, because I, you know, just pay really close attention to it. But I don't accept all connection requests. So if it's personalized, though, even if you're missing a picture, and even if it otherwise doesn't qualify for a person that I'd accept, if you personalize the connection request to me, I accept. And so the other
thing, that means you took the time.
Yes, and I know you're, and I know you're a real person.
Yes,
I know you're not a spam account or a fake account. You know, you've said to me you attended my event, or you attended my webinar, or you attended, you know, you saw me somewhere, right? Or you read my article or something like that. So those people I will accept. The other thing that's really dangerous about sending it through the app, or even, you know, through the desktop, if you're not personalizing your messages, is all it takes is for you to get 5 people that click the button that says report spam, or I don't know the person. And now LinkedIn restricts your account. So I'm big on using LinkedIn for lead generation, because I've got, you know, a perfected process that works really, really well. But if you can't reach out to new prospects, well, no, it's not going to work for you.
They also, because this happened when Periscope came out, and I didn't know LinkedIn was going to react the way it did. And I don't think she's in here anymore. It was one of my clients. We had set up with Periscope an IFTTT that every time she started a Periscope, it would, with the hashtag Periscope, which goes out on Twitter, that a link would be posted on LinkedIn on her status, because they have a status thing that they are presently on, with the title if they'd like to join.
Right.
So we had that. Well, she wasn't a heavy user. Like when I first started Periscope, yes, I was addicted. I'm going to go. I was addicted. I'm addicted to live streaming. It blew up my life this year. You know, I was on 7 times a day, and, you know, made amazing friends and did all this stuff, but I was getting business from it. So I couldn't complain, because I was getting things out of it and building those relationships. But the first step to recovery, thank you, Sergeant.
I saw that.
I admitted it. I'm an addict to live streaming. But what was interesting is that we did those IFTTTs, and when it got put, she went to log in on one of our coaching calls into LinkedIn, and she couldn't log in because they temporarily suspended her account, because they took it as once a day or once every other day, and with an outsourced link to go out of LinkedIn as spam.
Well, it could have been that it was being reported as spam too.
That somebody either reported or they felt. So she got them on the phone, and she told them what she was doing, and they said, no, the system puts it up as spam. I'm sorry about that. We understand you're not doing it heavily. Because it wasn't like, you know, like me, it was 7 times a day. It wasn't like 7 things going IFTTT there. That's spamming. I understand that. So I didn't have that set up. But for somebody who's doing once a day, I didn't think it was a horrible thing. And LinkedIn temporarily suspended it.
Well, that's interesting. I've never heard that before. So that's good and bad, I guess.
But it just shows they're watching what's being posted.
And they should. Yeah. You know, one of the things I like about LinkedIn is that they have been very diligent with monitoring and controlling spam. Now, having said that, they can't be diligent enough to eliminate it. Nobody can. Nobody can, right? But they've been pretty good at it. And, you know, so, you know, there's a lot of places in, you know, whether it's a LinkedIn publisher post. I had somebody that was replicating my LinkedIn publisher posts, like literally copying them and pasting them on their profile as their publisher post. And
Right.
so, it's very easy to report that and then, put the copyright infringement and stuff like that. So they've made that kind of stuff a lot easier, which is good. But, in a situation like that where it wasn't being abused. But, the other thing, too, is a lot of people will complain about LinkedIn's customer service.
Okay.
LinkedIn has customer service. Facebook and Twitter do not. A few years ago, my Twitter account was hijacked. It was taken over, and it was held for ransom, literally. Like the people that hijacked it were sending me ransom letters.
Oh my God. Are you serious?
Oh yeah, I'm serious. And I could not get it back. And I kept trying to get a hold of customer service, and I've heard the same thing happen with Facebook and Social Media Examiner just went through this a little while ago where their Facebook page just like disappeared
for 2 days. Oh my God,
and,
Mike was going nuts.
Yeah, of course, and nobody to get a hold of, nobody to get in touch with, right? So
send
whatever
your ticket in.
Yeah, which nobody ever responds to. Whereas with LinkedIn, they actually do. So, with my Twitter account, I was very fortunate because I had just met this guy who had hired me to do some LinkedIn stuff for him, and he was from the UK. And I was telling him about my account had been hijacked. He's like, "Hey, listen, I'm personal friends with the CEO of Twitter." I'm like, oh, "Awesome, help me out."
With Dick? That was Dick back then.
Yeah, I can't even remember.
He just left last summer. Yeah.
Yeah. So he put in one message to them, and their customer service was still lousy with him for a second. He's like, "Fix this account, blah blah blah," and then they're like, "Oh, this or this or this or whatever." He's like, "Listen, my next friggin' stop is the CEO. If you don't get this fixed, I have him on speed dial." My profile was back in a second.
You're like, we're going to have this person on my own personal phone number when a real problem comes up.
And then the same thing happened just right after that to one of Mari Smith's clients. And Mari Smith was like, "Hey, Mel, you know how you have that friend? Get your Twitter account back. Can you hook me up with him so he can get," and he did it.
You got to start charging. Oh, you want my contact, huh?
So we rescued another profile after that.
Oh, that is so funny. So Dave had to leave, but I mean, he said, "Are you friends with John Nemo?" So I mean, Dave's not making a joke. Is there somebody John Nemo that you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Just curious.
Well, I can say no, I'm not friends because I would know the name, but I might be friends on a social media platform.
Yeah, I understand where you're going on. I have, almost 5,000 Facebook, almost this there. It's like, how many names can you really remember?
Well, the term friend is used so loosely now. I don't really know what it means.
Yeah, prior to 2004, you had friends.
Right.
Now it's like, oh, you mean a friend on Facebook or a friend?
Yeah. I mean, I have lots of people I know on Facebook that I've never met in person that I actually do consider friends because I've had a lot of interaction with them. But
it's funny. I mean, I've been following you on Twitter for a little while, but I mean, the funny part is that you and I really didn't start talking till Sam put us together.
Yeah.
With Ireland when the announcements came out and stuff, and I went, wait a minute, Melanie's going to be there. I was like, I got to reach out to her.
Yeah.
Because I know Brian, I know Ted. Those guys I know because, they're over here. And I've spoken with Brian at Periscope Summit. And Ted I've known. Who hasn't followed Ted Rubin? And that's why when I saw you and I was like, oh, and she's tagged. Wait, I'm friending her. We got to talk. If I'm going to spend a couple days in Ireland with the girl, I want to know who she is,
That's right. And, that's one of the things that I love the most about social media is how do I say this?
Oh, just say it.
Because this is almost going to contradict what I just said, because I said I have friends on social media that I haven't met in real life, but that I still consider friends. But at the end of the day, where that friendship really happens is when you've connected online and then you connect offline, so that is always more, way more impactful than just continuing a conversation online forever, because, and I think live streaming has definitely improved this, because, it almost feels like we're in person. This is as close to being in person as you can get.
I mean, Periscope Summit in New York City, I spoke there about community building and everything else. And that was my kind of area that I was working on. And the interesting part about Periscope was when it started back in March, it was like, wow, this new thing, it's live. You get to talk to people live. I'm on my phone. I can take them down the street. I can do whatever. And you really started to get to know people, because it wasn't just that they were in yours and they were asking you questions and talking to them, because then you turned around and went in theirs. And that's kind of my big thing this year, that how we all strategize what we're going to do for each year, and we might come up with our new little theme name and everything else. What's your why this year? It always changes. Well, it's funny because my why last year was all about community building and engagement. And my why this year that I'm focusing on with a lot of people is you are following your fans. They are not following you.
I can't stand the word fans.
I know.
I can't stand the word fans.
That's okay.
And I'm so happy that Facebook changed that.
Facebook.
Yeah, that totally became that word became the norm because of Facebook. And I like that Facebook changed it to likes, because there's pages that I follow on Facebook that I'm certainly not a fan of. I follow their page. That doesn't make me a fan.
Right.
But
I'm changing it around, that we need to be more involved with the people that friend us, connect with us on LinkedIn, that follow us on Twitter, we need to be more involved with them than not worry about them being involved with us.
One of the things,
more you give,
the more you give, the more, absolutely. Social media is really has amplified the whole law of reciprocity. If you think about Twitter is such a great example of the law of reciprocity. Well, somebody retweets your tweet, then you notice that and you retweet theirs. Not to say that that's something that you'll do every single time, because we know that there's a lot of garbage on Twitter too. But one of the things that I do is I create lists of people that actively share my content, actively engage with me. I have lists of them so that I can look at those lists when I'm looking for some new content to share, to say, hey, those people that support me, how can I support them? What have they shared that would be valuable to my audience, my community, and then share that. So they're my what we all have different names for them, evangelists, advocates, whatever. Those are the people that I want to support the most and that I engage with the most. And sometimes it takes a while to get on my radar, because if you're really active on a platform, you've got hundreds of things coming at you a day. But, so somebody will share one of my things once and I won't really know who they are. And then they share it a second time and I kind of start paying attention. They share it a third time, they're hitting my list, Hello.
So Addis had a question and I said, why don't you just jump in and ask?
Okay. So my name's Adis.
Hi, Adis.
Hi. And the question I had is how do you manage the social media in a way that's, I like what Robert said about we don't follow, or it's not our fans following us, we follow our fans. And that really resonated for me. I realized I haven't been making a much concerted effort to actually figure out what they need, want, and I really do want to serve them, but I don't know how to do that in a time sensitive way, or not time sensitive, but in a way I'm managing my time well, because I already run a company. I'm a single mom. I have 2 young kids. And I'm still wearing a lot of hats in my company. How do I figure out a way to do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. My answer to that is always less is more.
Okay.
Did I just become a robot there for a second?
I don't know.
No. Okay. I'm hearing weird sounds.
A little bit of an echo.
Yeah. Less is more. You can't be stellar on 5 or 6 social networks if you are, a business owner. And if you've got a team, you certainly can. and you're delegating, you certainly can, but you can't be everywhere and do everything well. So my advice is to pick, 2 things that you can do really well and focus on those. And they need to be the platforms that are easiest for you to reach your target audience so that you can directly connect with them. And secondly, obviously where they are. But you have to like it too, right? So, if LinkedIn is a network that you hate, for example, then, but it's the ideal network for you. You either get over that fact that you hate it.
You learn to like it.
Or you find another network that will give you close to the same type of level of access to the people that you want to be connecting with. And, having a certain amount of time dedicated each day to not just broadcasting, but engaging, watching what other people are posting, commenting on that, engaging with the people that are engaging with your content.
Okay. So the Facebook is the one where I find most of like my buyers or my clients through, right? That's where they are.
Now, when you say Facebook, are you referring to your Facebook personal profile or your business page?
Both. My personal profile, because I didn't know how to use it when I first opened it. It's basically the business side, but the personal. It's a business personal side, and then there's my business page. But how the heck do I turn off?
I think because you need earbuds will help. That's why if you have them. But
dang it!
I saw
it's okay.
Okay. Shoot, I just did a blab this morning with like no earbuds. So okay.
You sound okay right now.
So what was I saying? Oh, so even just following the Facebook thing, right? It feels like so much work, even though I have a template by which I say, okay, I got to put in my buy-in post, I got to put in engaging post. I can't keep it up regularly. And the one thing that struck me is when you said, if you have a team that can help you do it. Well, how do I train my team to do it? Because I've had people that said, hey, I'll help you with it. But when they do it, it's like, oh, wow, that was lame. Like, I don't know how to train people to be.
Yeah, and that's the toughest part. I totally agree. One of the blog posts that I'm in the process of writing is, you don't need a social media strategy. You need an implementation strategy, right? So now, having said that, you do need a strategy.
Right.
You absolutely do need a strategy, but a strategy alone is not going to help anybody because they get stuck and they don't know what to do. So when we create a social media strategic plan for a business, we do create the strategy. What is the goals? What is the objectives? Who's the target audience? Who are the avatars? Who are we trying to connect? All that kind of stuff. But then it's like, what is the implementation guide with sample posts, what they should look like, how often, where to go, when to do this, when to do that, and it needs to, so, and even with LinkedIn, I create LinkedIn campaigns for people. It's like, I provide a checklist of this is what you do every day. This is Monday through Friday. This is what you do once a week. This is what you do twice a week. Then I provide a tutorial video that shows them exactly how to implement that with the lead generation messages written out for them, profile done for them. And I say, you know what? You don't even need to do any of this yourself because you could actually hire a virtual assistant to implement this for you, where you don't need to train them because it's all done for you. The only thing you as the business owner need to do is pay attention to the responses that come in. Don't outsource or delegate that.
The engagement.
Right?
Factor.
So now, so, it's really about just laying it out. I'm big on paint by numbers systems.
Okay.
Where nobody can fail, right? Lay it out.
I love that.
A, B, and C. Because you know what? There's so many areas of gray that people get confused on, yourself and anybody that you were to try to train even. I mean, there's opportunities for them to get confused on. So anything that people could get confused on, I'm like, they shouldn't be doing. Here's the things that they can be doing that they won't get confused on, and here's the things that you need to be doing because these are the things that somebody else could screw up.
Okay. So I get the strategy of showing them when, basically the how-to, when they post, what they post. Is there just a learning curve as far as like teaching like the culture of my company? Like we're light and we're jovial, we're optimistic. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like.
Yeah. No, that's great, and that's part of the strategy, right? What is the personality of the brand?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, One of the reasons why LinkedIn is my favorite social network is because of my own personality. I am an introvert. I am more analytical. I am more of a business owner than I am a social media person. So, it just made sense to me. I don't use social media to have fun. I don't want to post cute little cat meme pictures. It's not part of who I am. And I don't have any problem with people who do that. And that's part of who they are. Mm-hmm. But it does not represent me, my personal brand, nor does it represent my company brand. So, that's very, very important. Absolutely.
I'm curious. I have a question, actually. Do you plan ahead your content for social media?
I do sometimes, like once a month, I'll go for 2 hours, plan it in advance. But then there's those months, like the last couple of months, we had some huge stuff, and I'm like, I don't have the energy to even look at that. But that's even something easier that I could delegate to somebody. I've delegated in the past, but not to the right people. That was a part of the problem. So for me, honestly, the hardest thing has been like finding the right people to delegate it to, because I have a different personality than what you just described, Melanie. And so it's like, how do I? Oh no, Robert.
He'll be back.
Oh, okay. There's an eclipse at Robert's place. Yeah. So my challenge has been, it's just like being able to delegate it to the right people who have the same culture. And so then I end up doing all of the researching. Okay, it only takes 2 hours to plan out, 30 days worth of social media. But for me, when it comes down to it, I'm like, those 2 hours, I could finish creating this product. I could finish this program. I don't value it as high as other things. So that's been my challenge. So I think it is just this whole like delegating. That seems like a theme for me. I need to delegate it to the right people, and I'm having a hard time finding the right people to do it. So
yeah, I think it'll be easier to find the right people when you've got it all outlined, what it is you're wanting to do, achieve, and how you're going to do it. Because the social media space has typically been the wild, wild west.
And getting wilder every day.
I remember when I moved to BC, I moved from Ontario, which is, kind of like, weather, climate like New York. Mm-hmm. And then I moved out to where I live in Kelowna, British Columbia, which is just north of Spokane. So it's not at all like Vancouver or Seattle, where we've got a very dry desert-like climate here. And so I flew out here 11 and a half years ago to buy a house. I flew out for the weekend, and my stepfather lived out in BC, and he came out to meet me. So we're standing in the driveway of my house as the home inspector, the house that I was about to buy, that the home inspector was doing a home inspection on. And this thing kind of like went across my driveway. I'm like, what is that? And my stepfather says, that's tumbleweed, Mel. Welcome to the wild, wild west. I'm like, tumbleweed? I've only ever heard about that in movies.
She's thinking like the old Texas movies.
But it really is. And, the unfortunate part about it is that, there's so many people that, know how to do social media for themselves personally, like they like playing with it. And then they're like, oh, this is going to be a business for me. I'm going to start doing social media for other people, but they don't have a clue what they're doing. Uh-huh. They just know how to use it for their own personal use and probably not that good. And so, those people are popping up all over the place where you're like, oh, well, that person could probably help me and that person could help me. And, even look at companies like large brands or like, they put these job descriptions together that are this big for an intern. To manage social media. An intern should not be managing your social media.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, there's certain things that they might do, but it's limited.
I think what you hit the nail on the head for me is like the clearer I get on what I want to show up in social media, it's easier for me to find the right people. And so that tells me that I've been just still too vague on what I want it to look like.
Yeah.
So
that goes back to your original social media strategy. You really sit down and you can probably even Google social media strategy, like, cheat sheets or stuff like that. That'll help you kind of focus what you're doing, what you want to do on it, the type of content you want to put out and stuff like that. And then you take Melanie's implementation strategy to find the right person, because the content you're going to create, because you don't want to pass that off to other people, because that's not your voice.
Yes.
You want it to be your voice. So the content, the memes, the blogs, all that stuff, that should come within you guys. But then the implementation strategy that Melanie's saying, that's where you can get the right VA or the right person that knows how to upload it to YouTube, the video, and put in an SEO term and tag it and do the right things, or knows how to post it on Facebook and set up an ad for $10 that goes off something. You know, those are different things that a VA and somebody can implement and do.
Yeah, and the other thing too is you need a social media strategy as a whole, but you also need a strategy for each individual network.
Correct.
So when we create a social media strategic plan, it's like all encompassing. It includes their website and SEO and content and stuff like that. And then it's like, okay, what are the highest priority social networks that a company should be using? So we'll outline, what are the 3 top ones, what are the mid-range ones, and what are the low priority ones that they might not even ever want to bother using. And a strategy for each one, and then an implementation guide for each one. So
it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. It is a lot of work. I mean, you could get somebody to do that for you, but one of the things that I would just add to what Robert was saying about there's certain things that you should do. You can actually outsource content in a way.
Yeah.
But you have to do it in a certain way. So one of the things that we've always done with content is we've dealt with a lot of, thought leaders and stuff like that we, have worked with as clients. We will interview them. We'll come up with a cool blog post title and topic and stuff like that that's relevant to their industry, their target audience. And then we'll come up with a series of questions to ask them to get them to dive deep into their knowledge base and use their authentic voice. And then we'll write the content for them. We record that call so that we're using their voice, their knowledge.
Ghostwriting.
But ghostwriting can be not even having anything to.
But I'm saying it's transcribing, getting their content, and then putting it editorial way, written the right way, but it's their voice and their content.
Because not everybody knows how to write, likes to write, or can write.
How I'm writing my book right now is exactly that.
I tried that with my book. I had a bad experience with it. I recorded my entire book, for somebody to do that, and it was disastrous.
We're doing really well. We're doing really well. I like what they're doing.
Good.
So
good.
I gotta get going because I have a Skype call coming up. But Melanie, where do I find the blog post on the implementation?
It's going to be posted later this month. So go to topdogsocialmedia.com, and why don't you just opt in for my free cheat sheet? Then you'll be on my email list. Okay. And then once a week, I send out a newsletter with a featured article for the week. So that will be coming up later this month.
Is it Top Dog like dog or like dog?
No, just Top Dog.
Topdogsocialmedia.com. Actually, somebody just put the link in the chat, actually. Thank you,
wonderful.
Chris.
Yes, that is it.
Awesome.
Where are you calling in from, by the way? Where are you in?
I'm originally from Venezuela, but I'm dialing in from Utah.
Oh, okay. We're talking international today. Every little bit of everything.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it.
Take care. I want to go over a few of these questions that we got on the side, and then we'll kind of wrap up because it's just coming up on 2:00 here on the East Coast, and in 15 minutes, I got to go get my daughter.
Okay.
Being, my little one. So, TCS, Sergeant TCS, when you follow 42,000 people, how do you have engagement with all of them? How do you make them feel important when your key people are in lists? That's a great question as you build your audience.
Yeah, it is a great question. And it's not possible. It's not possible to engage with 42,000 people. I'm assuming you're using that number from my my Twitter account. Absolutely not possible. That's why lists are so important. So I have my lists of, peers and different people that, I speak at events with. So my, influencer list of other people that share great content that I want to, maybe share their content. Then I have lists of, the people that share my content. And those, and the people that I have built relationships with. So just creating strategic lists. I don't ever look at the home feed on Twitter, ever, because it's a zoo. I've got, 80 42,000 or 86,000 or 85,000 people following me, and I'm following 42,000.
I was going to say 42,000 people. That's nothing. You can Melanie, I could see you sending a tweet to each individual one of them every single day.
Yeah. So, you have to be strategic. You have to be strategic and know where to spend your time and who to spend your time on. And you can't spend it everywhere and on everyone. So that's what I love about lists. So, we're constantly adding people to our lists.
Lists work on Facebook too. People forget that.
Lists on Facebook and tags on LinkedIn. I have every single person. I've got 26,000 people that I'm connected to on LinkedIn. Every single one of those 26,000 people is tagged with a specific tag. So, if you're not organized with social media, it can get out of hand.
Especially if you build quickly and you start getting people, because then to go back and try to reorganize it.
Oh, yes. I started tagging my LinkedIn connections when I hit 15,000. It was a 6-week project.
Yeah.
I had my somebody on my team do it. I said, just go through if there's anybody that's.
I noticed that I had somebody on my team do it. I wouldn't do that one.
Oh God, no. That's just not the type. That is not a good use of my time.
I understand, and it's funny because I do it every Christmas. I go through my Facebook list, my profile list, because mine is always creeping up to 5,000. Yep. Not just followers. It creeps up on friends because I do accept. Listen. If it looks like it's a real person, I'll accept you. If it looks like, I go check out, if somebody sends me a friend request on Facebook, I check out their profile. You get to see a little bit, even if there's security on it. And I love the ones that I go to that joined the day before. Yeah. And they're friending me out of the blue. And I'm like, delete, simple. But, with Melanie and I friended you, and it was like, we already knew who each other was because of the whole thing with the summit. So it was no brainer. But right away, I put Melanie into the list of social media people I want to follow and blah, blah, blah. And I have a couple lists actually that I'll put people in. Like if I'm working with them and their social media and they're doing it, because you can go into different lists of what you're doing with a person. And that's what's great. You don't have to be in just one list. But
that's right.
The interesting part is that I go through every Christmas break, like you said you did with the 6-week project. Every year, the last 2 weeks of December, I go through my Facebook page. And I just go through the friends. And I look at the people's names. And if I really, really remember their names, it's great. But if I have no clue who these people are and they're not engaging with me, and then I go back on the posts and look and go, these people they accepted a friendship and they never did anything with it. Well, I said, I want that person. I want that space saved for somebody who wants to be engaged with me.
Well, I have a ninja trick I'll share about how I keep my friends under 5,000 on a regular basis on Facebook, because as I'm sure everybody knows on here, on your personal profile, you can only have 5,000 friends. You're capped out at that. I always leave a room of between 50 and 100 people so that I can accept new people that I really know.
Right.
I don't accept people on Facebook that I don't know either, unless I know of them, or they've sent me a personal note telling me why they want to connect with me. And Facebook changed this, a couple of years ago, which I didn't like, where you could actually have a personal note when you sent your friend request, which I loved. They've eliminated that, so now somebody actually has to go to that extra step and send it as a private message.
And if you're not friends with them, it goes into a filter, and you may not even see the message.
Absolutely. Although I think Facebook's recently made some interesting changes where it's jumping out. I can't remember.
You have a message from a person that is not friendly.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So here's how I manage my Facebook friends so that I can continuously add new people that I really do know and want to add. Is whenever I'm on Facebook, the moment I see somebody post something that I find very offensive or inappropriate, I remove them as a friend. I remove people as friends every single week because I don't want crap in my news feed. So, people that are posting inappropriate pictures or, people that are getting nasty, that are getting combative with other people's posts or getting on, their political rants or whatever. I'm like, no, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this. Remove.
I guess I got to be good with my posts now that we're friends.
I am. I am actually. I'm very strict and very rigid in what I am comfortable seeing. So. The funny thing is I have a lot of family members that post really kind of things that I don't approve of. I can't remove them. So if it's a real friend or family member,
I had one in my family member. I removed it, and then she called up and said, "Why did you unfriend me?" I said, "Because I asked you 4 or 5 times not to do those type of things, and since you're not going to listen, and I use my stuff for business, I can't have you on it."
Yeah.
She hung up. It was my aunt. It was my mom's sister, and my mom calls me back and she goes, "You actually did it." I said, "Yeah." I said, "I can't take that chance. I have people that are business related that are watching this, and I put stuff up, and she's going to post things on my threads that are not good. I can't have that." And she goes, my mother was on my side. She goes, I said, "Mom, I told her 5 times I asked her nicely to stop, and she wouldn't stop."
It's just mind-boggling how little common sense some people have when it comes to social media. Like when I see my family members or people that are close to me do things that are inappropriate, I do send them a personal note. Like, for example, one of my cousins did something recently where he was trashing his employer. I'm like, people get fired for this stuff. You would want to go remove that post. Don't post about your employer. To me, it's common sense. Unfortunately, it's not common sense to everybody.
I know.
And people have are overconfident in the fact that their stuff is private. Nothing's private. You just have to.
What you post.
Yeah.
Even if it's up there for 10 minutes and you go and delete it, that doesn't mean people saw it. And by the way, people can screenshot things.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I have entertainment clients. I tell them on live streaming all the time, I do not want to ever see you streamlining, live stream, Periscope, Mevi, any of the things that they're on. I have entertainment people, and I say, if I ever see you streamline from your bedroom, I'm telling you, and I don't mean it in a dirty way either. Just, I don't want it in your bedroom. I said, I will drop you as a client in a heartbeat.
Yeah, totally.
I had one woman, she's kind of a B-rated person, but she's on her way up, and she's hilarious, and she's funny, and she's sweet, and she actually came on one day, and I kind of didn't tell it to her before, so I gave her that one little, this is your only warning because you did this. She woke up in the morning, and you know how you wake up and kind of your hair's a little out. And I didn't care about that. She sat up and she had a nightgown on. It wasn't risque or anything like that. She grabbed her phone and "Good morning, my fellow Periscopers." And she's sweet and everything else. And I didn't mind the whole thing that she was showing her natural self. But when her boyfriend is sleeping next to her, and the thing is down and he's face down and he's naked from the top up, you can't see anything, but you just see the backside and him like that. And I'm sitting there going, I texted her right there because I saw it. I said, "Get off now." Because all I'm picturing is somebody screenshotting it. She's in bed. You see the backside of a guy naked who's sleeping next to her. Hello, Inquirer?
Or Photoshop. There are things that people can do with those kind of images. Yeah.
And I explained that to her on the phone, and she was like, oh, and she said she's looking over at him, and she goes, "I didn't even think of that." I said, "I didn't tell you before, and that was my mistake. You are never ever to do anything from the bedroom or the bathroom or anything like that on live stream."
Men have a distinct advantage when it comes to Blab and Periscope.
No, I want to hear this one.
That us poor women do not have. And that's, we won't go on without makeup. So it involves extra work. So, if I just want to have a chill day and work in my sweats with no makeup and my hair in a ponytail, it's a no Blab, no Periscope day.
That's funny. Well, I'm going to let this last question in, and then we're going to wrap up because I got to go get Munchkin. How many social networks do you use, and do you use any software to manage your accounts? Interesting question.
Yeah, so it's not a good question to gauge what you should do with my answer. Rather, my answer isn't a good way for you to engage what you should be doing, because I'm on most social networks, which I recommend most people do not do, because you don't have enough time.
You and I are in a different boat. We have to know every network.
Right,
We
I
have to know how it works.
Yeah. Although I spend very little time on certain networks, very little time, like Google Plus, for example, which I've never been much of a fan of. Not for whatever reason other than it's just not my thing. And I Google Hangouts, too techie, which I talked about earlier. So, I suggest 2 or 3 networks that you can do really, really well, unless you've got a team and you can do more. In terms of do I use software to manage my social accounts? My answer to every social media question is it depends. It depends on the network. So yes, we absolutely do for Twitter. We use Sprout Social. We've used Hootsuite before. We've used Agora Pulse. We've used all kinds of different things. Mm-hmm. With Facebook, we use Facebook. We post live to Facebook.
Organic.
Yeah. With LinkedIn, same thing. Although we used to use a platform, a software called Octopost to schedule some stuff in groups, which we don't post in groups anymore because of the changes to groups. Not a fan of them anymore. So if I'm posting a status update or something like that, it's done manually. I like software, but I don't like it when you're hitting a button and going, one post is going to be your tweet, Facebook post, LinkedIn post, because each post needs to be laid out for the platform that it's with. So for example, so many people post, their Twitter tweets, their tweets go right to their Facebook profile with, @ symbols and hashtags, which didn't even used to exist on Facebook, which have never really taken off on Facebook. Not appropriate for Facebook. You want to lay it out in a different way. And also you've got more room and you can add white space and you can separate paragraphs and you can do all these different things that you're not doing with a tool. If you want to add an image or if you want a link to show up a certain way with a certain, so software is great, but use it when it's appropriate. Twitter, it's great for.
Great. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on.
Thank you for asking me. I appreciate it.
We're going to have to do it again one time. We'll have to do another blab together one time. Yes. We'll see each other in just under 2 months.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a blab live from Ireland.
Oh, my goodness. Me, you, Sam, Ian. I mean, everybody I know that's going. Brian, Ted, we all blab anyway.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm actually going to be going out probably the Saturday before because I want to spend like a couple of days and stuff there to kind of. I've never been there.
Yeah, no, I'm going to definitely go out several days before too, especially because it takes me a few days to get used to time changes like that. And then I'm going to
And you're going to have an extra 3 hours on me. Yeah, because I'm coming from the East Coast. Yeah. You're on the West Coast. So.
Yeah. And then I'm going to fly to Amsterdam after that and go visit Holland and go meet my brother and my sister that I haven't yet met.
Oh, my God. You still got an exciting year to do with this.
I
love that story, and I'm so and by the way, thank you for sharing that because that was very personal, and I didn't know a little bit about it, and you totally shocked me on it. But I thank you for sharing about that.
Oh, my pleasure. Well, listen, go pick up your little one, and thank you guys.
Yeah, school's out. I hope you feel better. Get well soon. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we will talk to you all soon. Bye.